With that, I'm very happy to bring to the stage David Adjmi.
Hello. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to read from my phone because I get too nervous. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for showing up tonight. I'm so excited to read with Caki tonight. And I just want to give a huge thank you to Leah, to Gwen, to Adam, to everyone, the whole staff, for doing this and during this kind of perilous moment. And they're doing such an incredible job. Thank you so, so much. We love it. So I'm going to just try to make this as quick as I can. I'm going to read from a new play that's premiering actually in October in New York at Playwrights Horizons. And thank you. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. I started it 10 years ago, so it's been kind of a schlep, as they say. It was supposed to happen on Broadway in 2020, and that didn't happen. But this is actually better, and I'm having such an amazing experience making it. I wrote this play concomitantly with the memoir that I read from last year, which I guess most of you weren't here, but I read from it for my reading last year. And this is in a way like a second memoir. I didn't think it was gonna be that when I started it. I thought I was just writing a play about a band in the 1970s recording an album. I'm not in a band. I have no musical experience. I don't really know anything about music. I love music, but I'm not like a freak about music. So it's kind of weird that it turned out to be so autobiographical, but I think sometimes what you start with and the reasons that you begin a project aren't the reasons that you come up with by the end. So it's interesting to see that sort of weird pivot. So, okay, I'm gonna give you a loose sketch of what the play is about, and then Talene, my amazing, you have to clap, my fabulous, brilliant, wonderful colleague and co-teacher and pal, and a great actor in her own right, is gonna read a couple of scenes with me, and we're just gonna do it kind of janky. And we're each gonna read 2 parts each that aren't really us. So the play is called Stereophonic. It's about a rock band recording an album in 1976. It's not really like, I wrote it's like the Magic Mountain. It's not like the Magic Mountain, but it's like the Magic Mountain in the sense that they think it's gonna be this short process, and it just gets longer and longer and more interminable. And as it stretches on, it starts to test the relationships of the people in the band, and it exposes certain fault lines in those relationships. So it becomes a crucible and a test of endurance. But you're only gonna get a vague sense of what it is because it's hard to know from these clips. Anyway, there's music, but it's not a musical. The composer is a guy named Will Butler, who is a friend of mine, and he was a founding member of Arcade Fire, and he left the band recently. He's done music, but you'll hear it, we almost do a documentary style, so there were scenes when you just hear the first 10 seconds of a song, and they keep screwing it up, and you hear that for like 15 minutes. And so I am exploring tedium, but hopefully it's not tedious. It's actually, we're creating a functioning an analog studio on stage, so it's soundproofed. There's a booth, and there's a sound room where they record everything, and then you can hear them through the speakers, and then there's the console area where the 2 engineers sit. And and that's it, I think. Okay, so this scene, the first thing that we're gonna do involves the main engineer, this guy named Grover, and his assistant Charlie. I'm gonna play Charlie, Talene's gonna play Grover. And it's about a week or so into the recording, and Grover isn't terribly experienced, he's kind of fronting. And he's a little uptight because he's nervous. And one of the band members has just kind of flirted with him in this weird, inappropriate way. So that's the setup. Okay. Ooh. All right, hold on. She likes you.
Huh?
Holly.
I'm not dipping my chocolate in that peanut butter.
She's sexy.
She's married. I don't do married.
So are they married,
I don't
or
want
is
to
she?
gossip. I told you I don't want any trouble. They try to rope you in, but you got to snip the rope. Got to keep it professional. Got to stay focused. I'm telling you, man.
Remember I was telling you about my buddy Mark?
The guy from the...
Yeah, him, Mark, my friend from Capitol Records. So he was working on this album down in Nashville with a country singer, some chick with pigtails, and anyway, she dressed bad. She was crazy. Freckles and gingham and shit like that, ugh. And wore boots, but like disgusting plastic crap. Like her boots took a crap on her whole life. She was freaked out on all kinds of shit. Anyway, they balled for 2 months, every night. Every night. She was a sex maniac, and a maniac in general. This was in Nashville. Anyway, so he woke up in the middle of the night, one night, and she had a piece of glass on his balls. She broke a bottle like some feral, awful, depressive street bitch.
Yeah.
And she was holding it on his balls, man.
Oh, shit.
And she was all, you're screwing another chick, you're screwing another chick. And he was all, no, I ain't. She was all, you're screwing around, you are, blah, blah, blah. So then she cut, like, the bottom of his balls, like, not the actual ball, but the scrotum part. And he was like, hey. And he took the glass shard from her, and the ball fell onto the mattress. It was like, bloop. It was hanging from a string.
What string?
There's a string. And he got stitches, and he's fine now, but he can't play basketball. I fucking hate basketball. But he pressed charges, and she cracked up. She's in a mental hospital. Yeah, man. But country singers are all like that. Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, they're twisted up inside with that country shit.
Paula is smoking, though. She is smoking hot. I'm so hot for that chick. I think she wants me.
Oh, yeah, man?
I mean, I think so. It's pretty obvious.
You could totally see her nipples in that shirt.
Oh, I know. She gave me a boner in that shirt.
I totally also got a boner. Everyone's getting a boner. She's so attractive. I just want to pour baby oil on her and, like, smear it on her.
I could totally see her with baby oil, like getting a suntan in a Corvette.
Oh, yeah, and, like, huge sunglasses. They high five. You think you can get her to fix the coffee machine?
I feel like she's not super good at her job. Sometimes when we're talking, the phone just rings and rings, and I'm like, fine, don't answer it.
So what were you working on before this?
Before this album?
Simon said you were doing something with Jefferson Starship?
Long John Silver.
Oh, wow. Do you know Don Gooch?
Yeah, I know him.
And Steve Barncard?
What about you?
Huh?
What were you?
I was working with the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, yeah? How'd you get that gig?
I'm cousins with Tom Johnston.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Cousins?
Yeah.
You're cousins with the main Doobie brother?
Yeah.
You're a Doobie cousin?
Yeah, we grew up together.
God, man, you're lucky. No one helped me.
Want another beer?
No, man, I'm okay.
Charlie goes to get a beer. Grover smiles at Chester. Cat smile and turns to Charlie.
I gotta tell you something. You can't tell anyone.
What?
Well, I never engineered for Jefferson Starship.
You lied?
A white lie.
That's not a white lie. That's significant.
I mean, I worked on the album. I assisted.
They could just check the liner
My
notes.
name's on the album.
I don't know, man. That's pretty nefarious.
Everyone puffs up their resumes. It's normal. I'm 27. I know what I'm doing. I've engineered like 13 albums.
With who?
Believe me.
Are you lying about 13 albums? Is that also a lie?
No, and I didn't lie. I said I worked with Jefferson Starship, which is true. I just didn't.
I don't like liars.
Never mind.
So who did you engineer for?
The Sybil sisters?
Who?
They got some radio play. You know Tailspin?
No.
Oh, well, and there's this band in Van Nuys. Toto.
Toto?
They're really good.
Like the Wizard of Oz? Toto?
If you're gonna be an asshole, forget I said anything, faggot. I was just being open. I thought you were an open, cool person.
They're gonna find out.
No, they won't. We just keep giving them Coke and booze. We'll do a good job. Everyone makes shit up. It's Hollywood.
I just don't like liars, man.
I don't lie in life just to get a job.
Don't get feral.
I just need a foot in the door. I don't know anyone. You know?
Yeah.
I don't have a doobie cousin.
Okay. So that's that scene. Thanks. Okay. Thank you. See, it's weird doing little scenes. Okay.
It's not.
Okay. Now I'm setting up this scene. Hold on. Okay, so in this scene, so that's in the first act. So in this scene, Peter, he's now in the band. So now we're two people in the band. So Peter is like kind of the genius guy. He's the musician who rearranges everything she does. And this is his girlfriend, Diana. And he's just done some kind of magic trick with one of her songs and made it so great. And she doesn't want to deal with it. She doesn't want to do the arrangement, but he kind of forces it on her, and then she loves it. And then as soon as she admits she loves it, he kind of berates her in front of the band and says, well, you know what, this song is too long. You have to, and it's like his thing in the play. He wants her to cut the verses down, and she won't do it. So she's hurt, but she's covering her hurt, and it's the end of the day, and the band is leaving, and he's rolling a joint, and she comes to like sit near him.
I'm not cutting the verses down. It's not your song, Peter.
Okay.
You have to stop criticizing me so much. I need you to be a little nicer to me, at least in front of the band.
I am nice to you.
I have no self-confidence. I can't not have self-confidence and get up on stage in front of 10,000 people and be a rock star. I can't do it. You need to help me out here.
I can't give you self-confidence.
I know that, and I'm not asking for that. If you could just please,
Okay, I'm sorry if I'm doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not deliberate.
I know it's not. I need a little encouragement sometimes.
I'll try to encourage you more.
Or at least some space to I don't like when you say stuff in front of the band.
Okay, but I need to speak openly. If I'm feeling something in the room, I need to say it.
I know.
I can't lie to you.
I don't want you to lie, but you don't have to do this. You know? It's not like I don't know how to push your buttons, Peter. Just because I don't unravel the thread doesn't mean I don't know where it is. But when you love someone, you don't do that.
I think you romanticize who you are a little bit. You're looking out for yourself just as much as I do. You're very ambitious.
I'm not ambitious. Don't sling mud at me.
You want to use me to arrange a song, but then when I'm telling you it's too long or to cut something, you have no interest, and then you take it as a criticism. Then don't ask me to arrange a song.
Because you can be very aggressive, Peter.
How am
I don't like to be forced, okay? I'll do it in my own time. I don't like to be forced. Now, I will do what you ask of me. I will do it. But as I said...
You don't like to be forced.
Well, I don't.
Okay, but you did this when...
No, hold on.
You did this from back in 1968 when you hated the Beatles because I was telling you to listen to the Beatles.
No.
You know, I was...
No.
For form.
No, look, I'll do it. My thing is always, why do you have to force me?
I don't...
No, but that's my main, sort of question. I will do it. I will come to it. I'm passionate. I care. You know I care. Everyone knows how much I care. I'm into this. I am committed. So why do you feel the need to move my hand and force my hand and control every single thing I do until there's no joy in it? There's no discovery anywhere. There's nothing spontaneous.
Right.
Because then I'm just not interested. I don't have goosebumps or excitement. I'm just a puppet. And if I'm a puppet,
that's not what I want.
There's no joy in it.
I don't want a puppet. I want you engaged and happy and all that. And I think you're tremendous as an artist and a songwriter and a singer, which you also know because they tell you all the time.
I can hear it more often, to be honest.
Well, I'm telling you now. He kisses her hand.
Oh boy, going for the hand. I love chivalry. I love it when you get like this. Look at your face. You remind me of Mooch, my dog. I told you about Mooch when I was 7.
Yeah, Mooch.
He used to get very like this with his neck when he felt betrayed, or if we left him alone too long, his spine would get very erect like a monarch. He wanted us to know how profound his feelings were, which they were, because animals are profound.
Okay, so I don't understand. We were having a romantic. Now we're talking about your dog. Can we?
Come on, it's so sweet. That's all.
Yeah, well, you're sweet. He kisses her. I love you, baby.
And then I have all this other stuff eating away at me, things I could never tell you, or things I want to avoid telling you, because I thought I was getting things out with the music because it's so expressive and exhausting, but you don't. You can't get it all out that way. Even though it feels like you do, it's just a trick. Like all the conflict gets like submerged and hidden in some other weird pocket of your psyche, and you think you had a catharsis on stage at Madison Square Garden, and it's like, oh no, that wasn't a catharsis, that was a character. But what about me?
Well,
and like when you sold my guitar.
Okay, that was 7 years ago.
The guitar that took me months and months to save for.
The guitar you used literally once.
But that wasn't right.
Because you didn't do the work.
That wasn't, and that's still, that whole heavy dynamic between us is still very present and alive. Don't shake your head.
What are you doing? Why are you talking about?
Peter, I would have learned the electric guitar. Okay? And you were right, I wasn't practicing enough. I wasn't doing all the things you told me to do. I was working at the stupid old folks' home and changing people's diapers so we could make rent. But I was still planning on, and I was never going to be Keith Richards. I was never going to be Jimmy Page, but I was still planning on learning it to give myself some kind of literacy. And then suddenly my guitar is gone. And then I'm being forced again. And now I'm playing this fucking triangle, and I'm on stage doing this thing with my hands because I have nothing to do with my hands, because I can't play an instrument, because I'm still messed up from you selling my stuff.
Diana, I think sometimes you take these things out on me, like you're rebelling against.
I've never rebelled.
But I think.
No, I never rebelled. I was always a good girl.
But that's exactly it. I think you rebel against me. You're looking for something to push against, and I'm the closest to you.
That might be true.
I think it is true.
But Peter, you never rebelled either.
I rebelled.
No, you did not.
I rebelled covertly.
Oh, that makes sense.
I hid my rebellion. I did it on the side.
No, but your dad pushed you so hard, and you can't have kids and be that way, because they'll turn out, like you.
That's mean.
I mean intense.
I don't know. I thought my dad did a good job.
He did not do a good job.
Well, Brian is hugely successful, and I'm doing
but you
okay.
And Brian, your dad ripped up that relationship. You haven't spoken to
Well, there's
Brian
that competition, yeah, but there's always been that. That's not Dad's fault.
Peter!
What?
Yes, it is. It is his fault. He pit you and Brian against each other. You won't even go in the water now because you feel like a failure. That's what you said to me, even Stinson Beach.
So you don't think I'd be a good dad? Is that why you won't have kids with me?
I did not say that.
Well, then why won't you have a baby with me? We've been together 9 years. 9 years.
We just got out of that other fight. You really want to have this fight?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, where am I having this baby? Like on stage? We have a tour coming up. We're cutting an album.
Fuck the album.
Peter.
I'm just saying.
We have a #1 record. That doesn't just happen to people.
I think it'll make us closer.
No, you'll feel close to me, but I will hate you and I will resent you and it will ruin us. Is that what you want?
It won't ruin us.
You'll be fine. My life will be ruined. We'll have a screaming baby. I'll be tripping over my breast milk.
See, this is how it works with you. I'm forcing you. But if I don't force you to have a baby, it's not like you're going to come around. You won't. What are you thinking?
That I'm being forced again.
I'll see you at the house.
I'm meeting Holly at Juanita's.
Peter picks up his guitar and plays a riff. Okay.
You can come.
He ignores her. She stands there for a while, but he's going to ignore her.
I'll see you at the house.
He plays alone in the studio. Thanks. And now we're going to reset the stage, and Caki's going to come up and read after this.
Hi. Thanks for coming. Glad you don't have COVID yet. Thank you to Leah and Gwen and Adam. Everybody says that when they come up here, but we really mean our thank yous. Like, we're just really glad to be here, and you guys do so much work all year round. The staff, you guys do work all summer. Thank you to Tarfia, my workshop, my co-leader, and our workshop, who has been so great so far. I feel like I've mostly just been like making affirmative sound effects for most of the workshop because everybody's so smart. I'm going to read mostly poems from my most recent book, The Survival Expo. I've got a couple of new poems I'm going to sneak in here, but my new stuff doesn't blend super well, so I've tried to tuck them in between poems from the most recent book. But this is a poem, I think it's really self-explanatory. It's called I Think About My Neighbors. I think about my neighbors more than I'm sure of this, they think of me. In part because I don't know how they voted. In part because I hear them backing up their burrito truck all hours of the night. A big truck up a steep and narrow driveway, which never works until the man jumps out. The woman always drives and shouts directions, and she shouts, "What?" Because the truck is beeping and has been since she put it in reverse. And I only called it a burrito truck because one side's painted with a pinup girl who's straddling a burrito. They might sell a bunch of foods. We've not been introduced, so I don't wave at them outside their house, their yard like mine in need of some attention, their porch a little like a pirate ship. But sometimes he'll be hosing off the truck, or she'll be bringing groceries in, or hanging a wind chime fashioned from the small, sharp bones of an animal they must have killed themselves. And I'll wonder how they voted, or will vote. I never can decide. Another neighbor, a guy who fosters greyhounds and talks a lot about fostering greyhounds, told me once, around here, people have a lot of feelings. As if that were a normal thing to say. To me, alone, spray painting furniture on a weekday morning, showing no emotion to speak of. But he nodded to the house a few doors down, its front yard spiked with signs, "Don't tread on me," and so forth, and I got it. He wanted to confirm what side he's on, or that we're on the same side, which was true, I guess, although I also hated him for wearing one of those hydration backpacks, proving I know the phrase hydration backpack. But it wasn't hate exactly, so I laughed and said, sure seems that way, and kept on spraying my table with its second coat of gold. And we headed down our street, walking a greyhound who seemed embarrassed to be walked at all. There's a series of poems that run through this book that feature a character whose name is Hope. And she's the speaker of the poem's cousin. I mean, she's my cousin too, but I changed her name to Hope so that my cousins won't try to murder me. But the series sort of tracks the relationship between the speaker and Hope from childhood and kind of into adulthood. I'm going to read a couple of them. I actually wasn't going to read this one, but somebody requested it, which literally never happens. So I feel like it's bad luck not to. This is a poem that the setting for this poem is Elvis Week in Memphis, which is, if you don't know, it falls the week of Elvis's death, which is August 16th, and people in Memphis don't care about it at all, but people from other places come still, and there's like tons of Elvis interpreters. There's a candlelight vigil along the gates of Graceland. It is a surprisingly big deal. So that's the kind of the setting of this little poem. Elvis's logo, which you also may not know, is it's a TCB with a lightning bolt. It's taking care of business in a flash. So the poem references that. All my references are so lowbrow. I feel like in my poems, the things I have to explain. TCB in a flash. Okay. Hope comes to Elvis Week. We go to Graceland for the vigil. Hope in the same fuchsia tube dress she wore to our grandpa's funeral. But it's okay this time around. Nobody hissing about what's appropriate. Not in Memphis in August, 99 at dusk. The dew point making people's hair deranged. We clutch our little candles from their cardboard cuffs, and mine keeps going out. Hope leaning over to relight it. There are as many Elvises as Elvis fans, old and not so old, and from the farthest reaches, rolling strollers, luggage, oxygen tanks. So many stick-on sideburns, so many ways to sweat. I don't know it yet, but Hope's blurred out on pills again. We both buy buttons with the lightning logo, taking care of business in a flash. One too-tall Elvis strums a ukulele, strolling up and down the line along the gates and nodding solemnly. The crowd just slightly hushed. Hope says, "Can you imagine being loved this much?" I went through a phase where I was writing these poems that use extreme constraints, which is one of those obnoxious things that poets do that make people not like poets. They tell you about their constraint, you know? But I was very stuck, and I found that imposing the most extreme constraints was useful for me. So one of the kind of threads that I followed was this kind of poem called the univocal lipogram, where you limit yourself to only using one vowel sound in all of the words in the poem. So, for no good reason except that it's a way to kind of force yourself into a different voice or something. But so in this case, it's the letter E, in case you're listening for it. And this is called When We Were Shepherds. We weren't the best. We merely needed fleece. Were the sheep well bred? Yes. Fed? Decently. Yet they grew depressed. Wherever they went, bellwethers, rebels, they preferred elsewhere. They'd never even left West Tennessee. They deserved better. Hence, we leveled trees, extended fences, pledged fresh scenery. When the creek melted, there'd be plenty weeds. We sweetened them, see? Were they restless? Yes. They knew they weren't free, yet the sinner held. We were very blessed. This is the only other of the extreme constraint poems I'm going to read. And in this case, I was playing with anagrams, and taking a line, either of my own or someone else's, and then I would start with the line, and then I would reshuffle it over and over anagrammatically in the rest of the poem. So one line, reshuffling the same letters. In this case, I started with this line from Elizabeth Barrett Browning, a very famous sonnet, Sonnet 43, How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways, which is a poem I have kind of a love-hate relationship with. But Barrett's sonnet is about, counting the ways someone might love someone else. And my poem kind of undoes that and is looking maybe at the ways a relationship might dissolve. It's also counting the ways, and it's kind of a list poem, but it's a list that starts to break down a little bit. So this is 43 Ways to an Oracle. All of these anagram poems have oracle in the title, because when I was playing around with the anagrams, I started to feel like there was something oracular about the way that language would emerge. This is 43 Ways to an Oracle. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. 1, autonomy. 2, elective howl. 3, showed teeth. 4, use the veto. 5, with hello. 6, a wet economy. 7, clothed. 8, two-tone. 9, elusive. 10, on the way home. 11, at home. 12, coveted. 13, until we see how. 14, hotly. 15, steely hot. 16, on leave. 17, with too much weed. 18, too loosely. 19, do theme. 20, in vacuo. 21, the we. 22, tentatively we. 23, the loud echo. 24, somehow. 25, the détente. 26, touchily. 27, a wholesome vow. 28, the old way. 29, cue the wolves. 30, the emotion. 31, semi-devoutly. 32, how we once. 33, at the hotel. 34, wholesale. 35, mute, 2. 36, in the towed Chevy. 37, when woe lets me. 38, to the void. 39, oh, acutely. 40, sweetly. 41, moved out. 42, alone. 43, with the echo. This is a poem called Animal Husbandry. I had this book, this is in the poem, I shouldn't even explain the backstory, but I had this book for some reason in my car for literally years about animal husbandry. And I just forgot it was there. It was in the floorboard, and people would ask me about it. So that's sort of what this poem is about. I don't even really remember where I got it. Was like, I work at a college, like many of us, and you know how professors will like put books out, free books. I think that is where it came from, but anyway. Animal husbandry. Some engineers in Berlin built a robot that can grill a dozen sausages at once. I read about it on the internet like anyone and was completely sold. Though in my neighborhood, we chain our grills to the deck. It's hard to say what's necessary to help you feel secure. Sometimes I think I understand what makes a so-so day a better day. And sometimes I walk home trying to name the region of the brain where emotion comes from. And the cherry trees all seem so ostentatious, and I'm sorry for something that I meant to say but didn't, or said too decorously over text. And I should tell you, lately when I'm asked who to call in case of an emergency, I freeze up. On my meditation app, the guide named Heather calls the mind a field. And I'm not sure that's right, but to be fair to Heather, I'm the worst at meditation. It's too embarrassing, my legs go numb, and instead of waking into consciousness, I'll wonder whether Heather works from home. Does she have nice teeth? Did she have sex this morning? And I guess my circuits don't reward routine, but who knows why we stick with anything? Like this book on animal husbandry that's been kicked around the floorboard of my car for years. So long it's not till someone asks, animal husbandry? That I remember and answer, yeah, animal husbandry. And being obviously not a farmer, leave it at that. I'm useless as to breeding and the arts of cultivation. Can't judge a bunch of steers or hogs, and never learned why anyone who wants a healthy hen will need to feed it grit. I mostly need to be a better steward of my days. I shouldn't watch so many videos of people passing out on roller coasters, or the most humiliating fails in sports, like the one where the singer at a hockey game forgets the lyrics to the national anthem and shuffles off the ice and busts her ass, which brings to mind the German word Fremdschämen, meaning shared shame, shame felt for someone else. I read about it on the internet, then went and told a lot of people, but later when I asked my German friend and then my other German friend, both said it's not a word that Germans really use. And maybe they felt shame on my behalf. I wouldn't blame them. Once, when I was better at feelings, I accepted happiness was finding one thing not already ruined and then not ruining it. I might survive a while with just a sausage grilling robot, but I still consider moving to the country, filling a barn with small appliances and large appliances and tools like post hole diggers, which I see myself enlisting as a god enlists the wind, or minor beast it uses for disguise. And in this other version of my life, maybe my mind would be more like a field. Maybe I'd take a post hole digger to the extra acreage where my worst thoughts graze, and build a high fence I could chew them through for good, which, I admit, is probably the very opposite of husbandry. But this is why I haven't given up on reading the book, in case it sheds some light on the sort of person I could still become in the space I've made with a little care. I'm just going to read a couple more. This is another from the Hope series, and this is the lens of this one is a little bit different because it's imagining her. One of the things that happens is that she disappears for periods of time and no one is sure where she is. So in this case, the poem is kind of imagining her as being in a safe place where she's maybe better off. And you'll recognize the title. Hope is the thing with feathers. Hope is the thing with feathers in lane 3 on cosmic bowling night. A little bit gray slick, a little bit dust mop. Blue boa wrapped around the bandaged dress that didn't fit right even when she bought it all those seasons past. And it's true, Hope's never been in season, but feathered, she's that. Feathered and blacklit on a Thursday in some town where she's come down to roost. Never more at home than in a crowd of worn-out, put-out strangers among whom she refuses to be counted. Oh, she's passing through. I'm pretty sure they know it. But it soothes her to play looser with the facts. And anyway, her haughtiness might be the thing that saves her. Hope, who hasn't been puffed up by lineage or luck. You could say she's holding forth, whooping when she bowls a spare, doing screwy little roots in rented shoes, and helping herself to everybody's picture. Like she's the beat their system's missing. Same old Hope, just richer. I've been thinking a lot about kind of like poetic origins and the things that I return to. And this poem is really not even totally finished. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I had a great conversation today with someone in my workshop about kind of the things that we feel almost embarrassed that we return to in poems and the kind of obsessions. And for me, one of mine is basketball. I played pretty serious basketball growing up, and I find that I go back to it and almost feel a little bit embarrassed about that, like it's something I should have gotten over. by now. But one of the things I think, a connection I'm making is that was the beginning of a sort of, it was my first maybe exposure to the kinds of like dailiness and rhythms and routines of working for something. And so I think about that kind of grafted onto, my life now as a writer. But also the ways that was kind of tied into close relationships, particularly in my relationship with my dad. So anyway, that all kind of comes up in this one. Like I said, this one is brand new. It's called An Offering. I've always minded well, systemic in my task, approaching a dark night or burst pipe, the same way I once unsnapped my face and stashed it in the glove box. Yes, mamming all the wrong thoughts gone. The same way I arranged a phalanx of metal chairs in the high school gym all stuffy summer. The AC cut, no one around to watch me handling the ball. A backwards math of repetition, the only motion that could make me still inside. Slides and drills in 5s and squares of 5. I counted bounces, misses, beats, until I found my rhythm and the counting stopped, which felt almost like sorcery. One swish undid 100 bricks. 5 swishes filled the gym. My huddled team, the boys I thought I liked. I swore the scoreboard buzzed alive, and front and center there, my conjured father, in a sweater he'd not washed since our last loss. Nodding, taking stock, and what would be, I didn't know it yet, the best of all the languages I've shared. Half trust, half hustle, cuts and drives, and long shots launched from way outside. So wild and desperate, we called them prayers. And I'm going to do one more. This is just a little sonnet. It's called Suppositions for Skeptics. Suppose we've undersold the rhapsody, more apt to graph a gap or galaxy. We've voted no on maybe. Pigeonholed our hope like so much extra seed we told ourselves we'd never need. Suppose we'd known. Just as a stream exploits the cracks in stone, fear works its witchy runnels through a brain parched hard with thought. We show up late, explain we've missed the code, or anyway the cue. Suppose we quit apologizing too, released from woe is me and unashamed of what went wrong. Suppose the signs we blamed, each score and semaphore were meant to say, go slower, much of this will be okay. Thanks, y'all.